Welcome back to a Book a Day podcast. As you know, this week we are discussing some wonderful short stories written in various Indian languages and translated into English. All these stories are part of a collection called Our Favorite Indian Stories. This collection was curated and edited by Khushwant Singh and Neelam Kumar. And the story that I've got for you today, it was originally written in Punjabi by Ajeet Cour, and it has been translated into English by Khushwant Singh. The story is called Happy New Year, and without any delay, I'm going to narrate this story for you. So here we go, Happy New Year by Ajeet Kaur and translated into English by Khushwant Singh. After years of hammering away on typewriters, Kapoor's fate came to be linked with that of the Honourable Minister of the Central Government. Overnight, his status was elevated from plain and simple Kapoor to Kapoor Sahib, personal assistant to the HM, that is, Honourable Minister. In those few hours, his chest expanded visibly by a couple of inches. When he strutted down the office corridors, his breast puffed out like that of a crested bantam cock. It seemed as if corridors were not broad enough for him. Peons, who usually sat on their stools, chewing betel leaf or nodding with sleep, would spring to attention and salute him as he passed. The metamorphosis took place a few days before the year was to end. In the long years that Kapoor had been a clerk, he had never as much a thought of such trifles as New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. It had never occurred to him that the year which had been young a little while ago had aged and would soon give up the ghost. The 31st of December were no different from the 30th or 31st of the other months, days of penniless penury. The 1st of January were like the 1st of all other months, when he received his month's salary. He paid off his debtors, fulfilled his children's oft postponed demands for new exercise books, new textbooks, new pairs of socks to replace the old riddled with holes, school uniforms, pencils, etc. It was a strange mixture of sensations, an imperious feeling of governing other people's destinies, as well as a diminution of stature which came with the realization that before half the day was over, more than half his salary would be eaten up. After Kapoor had been transformed into Kapoor Sahib, his lifestyle changed. How the transformation came about was very simple. A businessman, to be more exact, an industrialist, who had done business with his minister, arrived at the ministerial residence armed with a New Year's gift. The date 31st of December. Time 8 a.m. Mr. Kapoor was ensconced in a room in the outer veranda and seated in the chair of the personal assistant to the Honourable Minister. The Minister took one look at the parcel and remarked, "Sorry, I have given up drink. You must know what the Prime Minister's views on the subject are. PM has ordered." The industrialist muttered an oath. Of course, only inside himself, but one which had reference to the minister's relations with his own mother. He also felt apprehensive that the bugger might be trying to slip out of his grasp. However, he bared his entire denture in a broad smile and replied, "Not at all, sir. I'll bring something else tomorrow or the day after. But this is New Year's Eve, and I must not leave without an offering for you." He opened his briefcase, took out a diary, and placed it on the table before the minister. It was a miserable little specimen printed in the government press. However, in its pages was a wad of other papers also bearing the imprint of the Government of India. The minister opened the diary, felt the thickness of the wad of notes, and remarked, "You need not have taken this trouble. It wasn't really necessary for you to put yourself out in this way." "No trouble, no trouble. Not at all, sir," sniggered the industrialist. "This is only to buy sweets for the children." It can be established that as a person rises in the world, his children's appetite for sweets and candies increases. The candy box in the diary was worth more than a confectioner's shop crammed with goodies. The minister gave a wan smile, bearing 2.5 of his dentures, and quietly slipped the diary in the drawer of his table. The industrialist sighed with relief. It had been a touch-and-go affair. As he stepped out of the minister's office, he handed the parcel he had brought for the minister to Kapoor. The personal assistant to the minister had also to be kept happy. All this happened so quickly that Kapoor was neither able to protest nor as much as utter a word of thanks. It was the first time in his life that someone had considered him worthy of a gift of any kind. He was somewhat ill at ease, but the industrialist's voice as he left with a triumphant smile was most reassuring. "It's a small gift for the new year." Kapoor's hands shook as he put the bottle in a drawer of his table. He felt hot all over his body. Vashisht, the typist, shared the room with Kapoor. He had been the minister's typist and had sat in the same corner for many years. On the very first day that Kapoor came to occupy his new chair, Vashisht had introduced himself with a reassuring smile. "Do not worry, sir. I'll show you all the ropes. Ministers come and go. Their jobs are not permanent. But your humble servant had been confirmed in his post and is quite familiar with the goings-on, what takes place in this room. I will not let any trouble come near you." Vashisht sensed Kapoor's discomfort and casually walked up to him as he took a leaf of betel out of a wrap of paper. "Congratulations, Kapoor Sahib. The first gift is like the ceremony of removing the nose ring of a bride. You must entertain your humble servants and thus ensure the grace of God. We will always pray for your health." Kapoor was novice at the game. He realized he could not drink an entire bottle of scotch all by himself, and was relieved to have someone share it with him. "Sure, sure," he replied. "Fine. This evening we'll welcome the new year in your home as well as all the Bara Sahibs do in big hotels, singing and embracing each other's wives at the midnight hour. Can I also invite Gupta on your behalf?" Gupta was the second typist. He sat in another room which he shared with 2 other clerks. Gupta was in charge of receiving and sorting out the mail. The other was responsible for the dispatch. "Sure," replied Kapoor expansively. Kapoor came home a little earlier than usual, carrying the bottle of scotch in his attaché case. He was not prepared for the tongue-lashing his wife gave him. "Did you have to bring this destroyer of families in our home and drink the evil stuff in the presence of children? New Year? What the hell is this New Year? Today is the 31st and there is neither a vegetable nor a scrap of biscuit nor anything else to eat in the house. I'm ashamed of asking the grocer for another loan. Only yesterday I told him I would not be buying anything more this month and asked him to make out a bill so that I could clear his account by the first. We already owe him 183 rupees. If we took another loan, your guests will eat it up. They will go back merrily to their homes. But what will we live on? You want us to eat at the free will, at the free kitchen, in the Gurudwara all the next month? New Year indeed. These fads are for the idle rich people who frequent five-star hotels. We have barely enough to fill our bellies and never a paisa to spare. Only I know how I count every paisa to spread it out over 30 days. Now, what was poor Kapoor to do? If you put your head in the jaws of a crocodile, you cannot hope to escape without a scratch. He tried to explain in his softest tone. My good woman, this New Year is an English festival exactly like our Baisakhi or Diwali. But the good woman was beyond reasoning and refused to understand. Exactly at 7:45, the two men arrived, accompanied by their wives and their brood of children. The women and children went into the inner room. Normally, children could be expected to create an uproar, but being clerks' offsprings, they clung to their mothers' aprons and whimpered like little pups. In any case, it was a very cold evening, and their mother could not get rid of them by ordering them to go out to play. In the sitting room, the men were gathered around the bottle of scotch. With it, they nibbled salted peanuts. Inside, the women folk compared the prices of potatoes. In any event, Kapoor Sahib owed us a feast for his promotion, remarked Vashisht. Kapoor expanded like an inflated balloon. However, he pulled a long face and replied, What kind of promotion, yaar? Promotion is when there is an increase in one's salary. All I have got is increase of work. I used to go to the office at 10:30 in the morning and leave at 4:30 in the evening. Now I have to report at the minister's residence at 7:45 and stay up to 8 or 9. I don't have to tell you all of this. To hell with the work, Mr. Kapoor. Your sphere of influence has increased, your status risen to new heights, remarked Gupta. Lots of things happen to people who occupy your chair. You recall that fellow called Sood? Narendra Sood was his full name. He used to sit in the same chair. It must have been about 8 years ago when a license applied by a Bombay firm got stuck somewhere in the files of the ministry. The firm's chaps had been going round and round for weeks, but the minister was like a duck, which would not let a drop of water stay on its back. Utterly defeated, these Bombay Johnnies came to Sood's house and fell at his feet. This Sood fellow performed such jugglery that before the month was over, the license was cleared. It was entirely Sood's handiwork. The Bombay people worked out that each visit to Delhi cost them 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. So why not employ Sood to do the work for them? They persuaded him to resign his job and made him their resident executive director in Delhi. They gave him an air-conditioned office and a spacious apartment. Now Mr. Sood and his pretty private secretary travel in a chauffeur-car-driver car. They make the rounds of different offices handing out invitation cards for dinner. He dines out every night with officials at swanky hotels like the Oberoi, the Taj or the Moria. Every month, lakhs of rupees pass through his hands. Every day, he wears a new suit made of imported textiles. Vashisht narrated the story of Sood's achievements as though they were blood brothers. And you must know that every currency note has a little glue stuck to it. As they are passed along from hand to hand, some get stuck to one hand, some to another. You are a man of the world. You must know all this, said Gupta. Kapoor's third eye was beginning to catch a glimmer of light. My good friend, all I know is one basic fact. These 84 lakh species of lives that our holy books talk of are in fact one that of a clerk. A clerk goes through all the incarnations: cat, dog, scorpion, turtle, jackal, pig, and everything else. And just as a person goes through the 84 lakhs of incarnations before he takes birth as a human to rule the world, so once in a millennia a clerk is fortunate enough to be appointed personal assistant to minister. Vashisht was well versed in the holy texts. That may well be so, conceded Kapoor with a half-hearted laugh. But there is no escaping from the fact that the workload becomes much heavier. Your sister-in-law, that is my wife, has been going at me for the last 10 days. She is not sparing you, sniggered Gupta. Why don't you put some sense in her head? Tell the good lady that by the grace of the chair you occupy, all the 4 horizons will soon light up. Then she will cook halwa full of dry fruits and glasses of milk laced with almonds before she sends you to your office. Vashisht roared happily. This bottle of scotch is the first ritual, the sort of gift you give a bride when she first unveils her face, added Gupta. The two men treated Kapoor like a neophyte about to have its ears pierced before he is accepted by a guru as his disciple. When my wife looked at this bottle, it seemed all hell would break loose, said the new convert Kapoor. Vashisht interrupted him by pleading in a mewling voice. Please, please, explain all this to our Bhabhi. Put some divine wisdom into her head. Gupta added his voice in support. Tell her how everyone in the customs service is eager to be posted at Palam of St. Cruz Airport and get all sorts of influential people to speak for him. Every traffic constable, every sales tax officer does his level best to be posted in the Chandni Chowk, Sadar or Chavdi Bazaar. How many shoes do they have to polish with butter before they get these postings? What is more, these big hospitals, when a doctor is put in charge of the wing reserved for VIPs, his colleagues are burnt up with such envy. Such posts do not go a begging. The workload is undoubtedly doubled. But just think, the bigger the head, the bigger the headache. Now, take the case of the Prime Minister, said Vashisht. The poor thing works 18 to 19 hours every day. During the elections, the PM runs from one village to another. What booby prizes does the PM get for all this trouble? Quite right. All these ministers and leaders of political parties do not run around for the heck of it. Time will come when your wife will be singing and dancing with joy. She will take your big head in her lap and kiss away all its aches, said Vashisht, laughing. The bottle was nearly empty. The peanuts had been nibbled away. Gupta glanced at his watch. Friends, it is nearly 9:30. Let us have something to eat. We will not get any buses after 10:30, and we are not ministers who can order our cars. Kapoor got up and went inside. A little later, Kapoor's children trooped in carrying bowls full of lentils, cooked in onion and potato curry. The 3 men ate in the outer room, their wives and children in the room inside. Kapoor's wife was busy baking chapatis. Her children ran around the 2 rooms, serving them hot to the guests. By 10:15, the guests departed. Kapoor felt like a criminal. He started making the beds in the rooms. He could hear his wife grumbling away as she rinsed the cooking pots and plates. New Year indeed. To hell with such festivals in this biting cold. They may suit white people. We have our own Diwali and Baisakhi, both in fair seasons. Only Lodi is in winters, and people light bonfires to warm themselves. And I have to rinse all this garbage with icy cold water? To hell with this new year. At long last, the lights were switched off. The children were fast asleep. But Kapoor's wife went on nagging and grumbling. After a while, she said, "This new year be damned. Why doesn't it fall on the 2nd of January? By then, you will have drawn your salary." Kapoor kept silent. His wife's voice flitted about in the dark like a bat going round and round the room, and then found a perch on some wall. At the hour of midnight, when lights in all the 5-star hotels were dimmed so that men could embrace and kiss other men's wives, and burst into singing Old King Sign to usher in the new year, the Kapoors were fast asleep with their backs to each other. And that's how the story ends. Tells you so much about the class struggle, how the working class behaves differently from the elites, how pleasure they mean different things, how festivals they mean different things to these two groups. And even though it's a really simple story, nothing really happens in it, but you just understand the life of a working class person, how it is like in India. And you compare that with that of the elite, completely different. And that contrast has been explained, has been shown very subtly, without really talking about it, very subtly. So that was today's story. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll come back with another story in the next episode, and I'll catch you then. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.